It seems like Cam Ward is the consensus QB1 in the 2025 draft class, so I've decided to start my draft evaluations with him. I'm going to show you everything that I think is important based on my analysis of him as a prospect, and then at the end we'll discuss where Cam Ward should be drafted, where he will be drafted, and whether I believe he'll find success in the NFL. If you do enjoy, please consider subscribing as it greatly supports the channel. So who is Cam Ward? After very little production out of high school, Ward was a 0-star recruit and ended up committing to a small school by the name of the Incarnate Word Cardinals. From there, he gradually built his reputation, transferring to Washington State after 2 seasons, and then after continuing to prove himself, he's had 1 more season in college, transferring to Miami, and this is where people really started to consider him a first-round pick, and maybe even a number 1 pick. The Miami offense is led by offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson. They aim to run the ball powerfully with running backs who run with a vengeance and by stacking the line with extra linemen. This has proven effective as their primary back, Damian Martinez, has just over 1,000 yards at a rate of 6.3 yards per carry. Establishing the run in this way means that teams commit to stopping the run and they leave space behind to attack. Even without the extra blockers, the Miami offensive line is superior to most defensive lines that they came up against, so Cam Ward gets plenty of time in the pocket to attack the space. They also have the weapons to make these plays, most notably Xavier Restrepo, a slightly undersized receiver, but he is fast and dynamic. They play him almost exclusively out of the slot, and they use him to stretch the field. In my opinion, Restrepo even has a chance to be a late first-round pick in the upcoming draft. Cam Ward is listed at 6'2", although based on what I see on film, I would assume he ends up being around 6'1", maybe even 6 foot flat when the official measurements take place at the combine. His best trait is his phenomenal arm. Every starting quarterback in the NFL can throw a deep ball, but few can throw with the amount of zip and power that Cam Ward can. He combines this with a quick release and has a very relaxed motion which allows him to throw sidearm whenever he feels necessary. This makes me think he could be very effective in a quick game style offense like the Dolphins or the Panthers. Being slightly on the smaller side, his ability to throw sidearm is useful when it comes to throwing between these linemen. He also has a better arm than Tua or Bryce Young, so you could argue that Ward would take the quick game offense and take it to a whole new level. Cam Ward is extremely calm and plays the game very instinctively. He's nothing spectacular as an athlete, but he has some wheels, and this instinctive playstyle leads to him taking advantage of any gaps in the pass rush with his legs. Offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson claimed he plays football with a very low pulse. But is it possible to be too laid back as an NFL quarterback? Being protected in this offense has allowed Ward to play with this laid back and instinctual playstyle, but he seems to have this attitude that he doesn't have to take open reads. He will always be able to find another open read or make a play with his legs, and therefore he is choosing not to take these opportunities early in the down. Take this play for example. He knows his receiver is running this out route, it's his first read. As soon as he sees the defender not clamping right down on this route, it should be a pretty clear indication that this is going to be open and the ball needs to be coming out. On this occasion, you'll notice that he's put off by a bit of pressure. All he needs to do here is shuffle up in the pocket and hit his open read. But again, he's kind of lacking that anticipation that I'm speaking about. So he ends up sort of dancing around, trying to make a play, and this one ends up being incomplete. On this play, he's looking for this read to come open, but when it doesn't come open, he moves his eyes to the check down, and the check down is going to come open with a little bit of space as long as the ball is thrown with anticipation. Instead, you can tell he's already pretty set on escaping the pocket when his first read doesn't come open, so instead of a short completion and at least getting close to the first down and having a 3rd and short situation on the next play, he ends up scrambling and nothing comes of it. My biggest concern with Cam Ward is that whilst he looks great most of the time being kept clean, he does have a higher turnover-worthy play percentage when he's under pressure than all of these other quarterback prospects that I've seen spoken about in this class according to PFF. So things do start to get a little bit messy once the pass rush gets to him, and as I've said, he does look small in the pocket, and when he gets to the NFL, he'll be facing pressure like this on a consistent basis. In fact, he's made some very questionable decisions when not under pressure. He's just misunderstood the coverage, or he's not on the same page as his receiver, or maybe he is under pressure, but the reason he's under pressure is because he's been holding the ball too long, and you certainly can't be throwing the ball up like this. So what does this actually mean? I think what people lose sight of when evaluating quarterbacks is that ultimately the situation is everything. So what situation is Cam Ward going to be in, and can he succeed? Holding the number 1 pick is the Tennessee Titans, and although a lot can change from now until draft night, it sounds like Cam Ward is going to be the first quarterback taken, so the betting markets are saying that this is his landing spot, and it may well be. Now I do believe that this is a much better situation than people realise because yes, the Titans were a disaster last year, that's why they had the number 1 pick, but I don't think I'm being controversial when I say that Will Levis shouldn't be a starting quarterback in the NFL, nor should Mason Rudolph for that matter, with all due respect to those guys. What the Titans do have is Brian Callahan, who is now going into his 2nd season as Titans head coach. Callahan spent 5 seasons as Bengals offensive coordinator before taking this job, and he is one of the league's great offensive minds in my opinion. The Titans' offensive line is an issue, but I think the left side in JC Latham and Peter Skoronski, they're young and will be solid once they have a bit more stability next to them. Right tackle really being the major hole on this offensive line, and the Titans do need some weapons as well, as all they really have right now is Calvin Ridley. But the defense is much better than I think people realise, so with what I believe is a very functional offensive system, all they really need is the right quarterback and a couple of solid picks in the mid-rounds or splash out in free agency to get yourself a right tackle and another good receiver or two. Here's the issue as it pertains to Cam Ward. He is not the quarterback needed for this system. This is an offense that requires someone to hold their ground in the pocket and go through their progressions, and I think especially with the offensive line needing some work, asking Cam Ward to run this system would lead to him making bad decisions, he'll be escaping the pocket when he shouldn't be, and ultimately these bad habits would just start to cement themselves the more he loses confidence. I actually have a feeling the Titans are going to trade back and sign Sam Darnold in free agency. And it's not even that Sam Darnold is a better option for every team than Cam Ward, I just think he fits this offense better. But let's say the Titans don't draft Cam Ward and they don't trade back either. Let's say they stay where they are and draft Shedeur Sanders, Abdul Carter, maybe Travis Hunter. This would mean Cam Ward falls to the Browns at 2, and this is actually where I think Cam Ward should be drafted. You may be wondering why I think the Browns have a better situation for Cam Ward than the Titans do. The Browns have a phenomenal defense, but that doesn't massively affect Cam Ward. They have a good offensive-minded head coach in Kevin Stefanski, just like the Titans do. They have Jerry Jeudy and not a lot else in terms of receivers, the same way the Titans have Calvin Ridley and not a lot else. The Browns' offensive line is slightly better, but it's an older offensive line and they need a left tackle. And by far the most concerning issue is that due to some bad decisions, the Browns have the 2nd least cap space in the NFL. So why am I telling you that this is a good landing spot for Cam Ward? Although Kevin Stefanski tried to adapt his offense to fit Deshaun Watson, he'll be looking to get back to his roots next season. When the Stefanski-led Browns are at their best, it's been when they stack the line of scrimmage with these extra blockers and run the ball with a vengeance. Sound familiar? It's very similar to the Miami offense that Cam Ward has been operating in. What's slightly different is Stefanski likes to leave these extra blockers in for pass plays as well, and it means his quarterback has time to throw downfield, so this is why I think it's perfect for Cam Ward. He has time in the pocket, there's less receivers running routes, so the processing is usually a lot less complex. It's really just the execution. This is why Jameis Winston found some success in this system. He's not having to make too many processing decisions. It's just a case of utilising his ability to throw the ball downfield with zip and with accuracy. I think I've made it clear that I see some flaws in Cam Ward, but he can be a seriously good quarterback with the way he throws the ball in a clean pocket. I haven't gotten through all the quarterbacks yet, but I think if Cam Ward falls to the Browns at 2, he's on a rookie contract obviously, which is important considering their cap situation, and then I think you just spend every draft pick you've got trying to reinforce a young foundation on offense to build from. The final scenario to consider is if the Titans trade back with a team for them to select Cam Ward first overall. The 3 realistic trade-up candidates are the Giants, the Raiders and the Jets. The Giants hold the 3rd overall pick and I think they could work, although it's not really an ideal systematic fit with Cam Ward. Brian Daboll has an adaptable approach to his offense. They have a great young weapon in Malik Neighbors, but I just don't think it's worth trading up when they need so much work on the offensive line. The Jets actually have the best roster of any of these teams, a pretty talented defense, a great receiver duo in Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams, as well as a really solid and fairly young offensive line. They may have hired their new head coach by the time this video comes out, but it looks like it could be a defensive hire like Aaron Glenn, in which case the focus will probably be more about re-establishing a formidable defence, and it wouldn't really make sense to give up enough assets to move up from the 7th pick to the 1st for a quarterback when the focus is defence. What I think would be really interesting is the Raiders, who currently hold the 6th overall pick. They need some work on defense, and we don't know who the head coach is going to be. Ben Johnson going to the Bears makes this situation slightly less exciting, but there are still some interesting potential offensive options out there, such as Todd Monken, Liam Cohen, Bobby Slowick, Kellen Moore, with the Raiders having quite possibly already the best tight end in the league in Brock Bowers, coming off a sensational rookie season, and a young offensive line which is quietly developed into one of the better ones in the league. I could see the upside in trading up to grab Cam Ward if they manage to hire the right head coach or offensive coordinator to develop him. They also have the second most cap space in the league, and if you think you can't just bring in a rookie quarterback, a new coaching system, and just plaster over all the other cracks by splashing out in free agency, my team, the Washington Commanders, were in a much deeper hole than the Raiders are right now, before they made the NFC Championship in what is literally year 1 of the rebuild. My comparison for Cam Ward is Baker Mayfield. No two quarterbacks are the same, they have very different throwing motions for example, and Cam Ward may even have a higher upside than Mayfield, but the similarity being that they are both a bit smaller than you would like, and things can get a bit messy if you put too much on their plate in terms of processing. But they are both rhythm quarterbacks in my opinion, so when you put everything around them, they have excellent arm strength and can put the ball on a rope. This is the first prospect in this draft class I've fully evaluated, so obviously I don't know where Cam Ward will rank for me amongst other quarterbacks in this draft just yet, but I like him. I would draft him in the first round if it's the right team. I think he'll be great if it's the Browns or the Raiders. However, I wouldn't feel comfortable drafting him if I was the Titans, Giants or Jets. In terms of unlikely destinations that I think would work, they include the Panthers, Dolphins, 49ers and the Rams. And I think that really covers everything. I'm pretty sure I'll be evaluating Shedeur Sanders next, so keep an eye out for that. If you did enjoy, please consider subscribing and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.